Okay, so the offer engine. And in this section, this is where we're actually going to build out and map out your high ticket online coaching offer and program. So we'll briefly look into what that actually is, how to build your offer, your program, how to package it up, and also how to deliver it. So what is a high ticket online coaching program, or what is high ticket online coaching? So before we go into that, there's a few principles that we need to understand first. So before we go into the structure, the delivery, and those kind of things, we need to understand what a high ticket coaching offer or coaching program actually is. And there isn't a universal single definition because there can be so much variability between industries and niches and coaching styles and those kind of things. However, there are some common characteristics that most high ticket online coaching offers will have in common. And the first one is going to be the pricing. So typically, they're going to be above $1,000 for a single coaching program. Often they're going to be significantly higher, even into the 5, 10, 20, even up to like 50K plus price range for a single coaching program. They're going to have a very targeted and specific niche. So they're going to speak directly to a well-defined audience with a specific problem and a desired outcome. They're going to be based on a proven framework, a method, or a system. They're going to be heavily reliant on a focused outcome. So it's going to be very outcome and results-based driven. They're going to rely heavily on personalized hands-on support or personal communication. And there's going to be a key, the sales process is going to be heavily reliant on a trust-based system. So this typically isn't a checkout type payment process. So someone doesn't typically land on a checkout and just buy, although that is possible. But for most people, especially starting out, it's going to rely heavily on application forms, conversations, whether that's in the DMs or messages, emails, or on a sales call. So typically, people don't just land on a website and buy a high ticket coaching program. Typically, there is some kind of personal element to that sales process, which makes sense because it's coaching, right? And then often a key feature of the high ticket online coaching program is that they're there to multiply your time, meaning you don't always have to be there present to deliver the service and get a client result. So if you've ever done anything in person before, you know that's heavily reliant on you being there, trading time for money. Whereas high ticket online coaching programs are about multiplying your time. So it's a combination of the personal delivery side of things, whilst also systematically systemizing your processes and your methods in order to get someone a result. So it's a combination of the personal plus a bit of systemization, automations, extracting your knowledge, and putting it into a process for someone to get a result. So something else we need to understand is that confusion kills conversion. So if a potential client gets confused, if they become overwhelmed or have too many options, then they won't buy anything at all. Or what they'll do is just look for the cheapest version of what it is they're looking for. So if they're looking for a weight loss coach, but the weight loss coach has loads of different options, the person is likely just to get overwhelmed and confused and will just go and look for any other alternative solution that's the cheapest. So this is where we need to apply what I call the one offer formula. So with the one offer formula, you focus on providing one offer or program that helps one person, which is your avatar, your dream client, achieve one goal by solving one problem. So we're not creating multiple programs, tiers, levels, or option. We're focusing on creating just one. So with this, your marketing becomes completely clear. It positions you as the go-to expert. It makes selling easier, and your program becomes an obvious choice for that person. So now let's look at actually building out your high ticket online coaching program. So when it comes to building out your high ticket online coaching program, the first thing we need to do is actually remind yourself of your transformation statement. So what was the journey that you're taking someone on? So where are they on day one? What are the problems, the challenges, the pains, the objections they're currently facing? And where is it that they want to be? So what is the outcome or dream result that they want to achieve? And then we need to think about what are the key steps or things that they need to go from where they are to where they want to be. And this is where your program comes in. So your program is going to be positioned as the perfect solution to take them from where they are with their journey fully mapped out to get them to where they want to be in the quickest, easiest, and most enjoyable way possible. So now let's look at actually mapping out and building out the offer. So it's a three-step process, which I'm going to walk you through step by step. So the first thing we need to do is choose your coaching model. So there's two ways that you can decide to actually build your coaching program, and I'll walk you through both. So you just need to choose which model you want to go with. We're then going to create your value stack, and then we're going to decide on your coaching and communication support stack. So we'll start by looking at step one and choosing your coaching model, which forms the core foundation of your high ticket online coaching program. So when it comes to choosing your model or the model for your offer or your program, as I said, there are two main options. So option one is what I call the pillar-based model, and option two is the step-by-step process-based model. For most coaches, option one and the pillar-based model works best, often because coaching is personable and unpredictable and relies on guidance, flexibility, and adaptability to get a result. However, if your method follows a more linear step-by-step process with little deviance, then the step-by-step process model is another option that you can use. If you're unsure, then I recommend starting with option one, the pillar-based model. Um, but if it does become clear whilst you're building that out, you can then switch to the step-by-step process-based model. So I'll go through the pillar-based model first and show you how to actually structure it in this way, and then we'll go through the step-by-step process-based model. So with the pillar-based model, you're going to choose 3 to 5 core pillars that form the foundations of your program. So these core pillars are the essential elements that your program needs to have to get a client result, and that your program could get a result with the combinations of these elements alone. So think about the essential elements that your clients will need to take them from where they are on day one to where they want to be with their dream outcome. So this will make more sense as we look at a couple of examples. So if we assume that it's a weight loss coach, then we know that the key things or the key elements are going to be some form of workout, nutrition, mindset, and progress tracking. If we look at a business coach example, it's going to be around offer creation, client acquisition, social media marketing, and then some kind of sales system. If we're looking at the relationship kind of niche and a dating coach, we know there's going to be some kind of like, if it's for like an online dating profile, so creating that dating profile, how to start conversations, how to handle a first date, and then maybe some kind of readiness for a relationship assessment. So is that person ready for getting into a relationship? If not, what kind of steps do they need to take? So think about your avatar and your dream client and write down the 3 to 5 essential pillars that they'll need in order to achieve their dream outcome and result. So something else to keep in mind is that people want to work with us because we can help them achieve their goal in a quicker, easier, and more enjoyable way. So part of that is being able to strip the process back and make it as simple as possible. So that's what they actually want: the simplest, the quickest, easiest, and most enjoyable and effective way to get a result. So I know there's going to be loads of temptation to add loads of pillars to try and display your knowledge and value, but the impact of this is it actually has the opposite effect, and it can create confusion whilst also overwhelming the client, and it also comes off a bit unconfident. So I typically recommend 3 to 5 pillars. If you really do need to add more pillars, you can do that, but just be aware that it can often have the opposite effect of what we're hoping that it will have. So we'll go through in steps 2 and 3 of the process to show you how to actually elevate the value in your high ticket coaching program without overwhelming your client. So that's kind of how the foundations of the pillar based process works, or the pillar based model works. Let's take a look at option 2, so the step by step process based model. So for those whose method of getting a client results follows a more linear path with specific milestones and a clear sequence, then the step by step process is another option that can work. So this means how you get a client from A to B. So if your client does step 1, then step 2, and follows that natural order, they will achieve the outcome. So this works best if you're building something systematic, so kind of like constructing a house, although I'm not a builder, so I wouldn't know the actual steps, but it would make sense that there is a logical sequence of steps that you would take that you can't really do in a different way. So for example, laying the foundations, building the frame, building the walls, putting the roof on, and then decorating. So there's a logical sequence of steps that you would need to take, and there isn't really another way of doing it. So with this approach, you're going to break your process down into those sequential steps or phases, which might be organized in different days, weeks, or even months. So if we take a look at a couple of examples, this will come completely clear. So if we're looking at how to set up someone's diet for a health coach, for example, then it might be that we calculate their calorie requirements first, then we determine their macro ratios, then we look at the micronutrients, then we help them with meal planning and giving them a structure and a template, and then we help them to form healthy habits. So that's kind of like a setup process that you wouldn't really do in a different way. So hopefully you can see that with this example on screen here, that it's a step-by-step process and model about helping someone to build something or create something or launch something. It follows a natural sequence and steps. And then if we look at another example here, so someone who's set up a dating profile, again, you can see it's like a logical sequence of steps that someone would follow that you wouldn't really do it in any other way. So think about your avatar or your dream client and write down 3 to 6 main essential steps or phases that they'll need to go through in order to achieve that dream outcome. Within those main steps, you can add micro steps, but for simplicity and when it comes to actually communicating your program and how it will work, simplicity is key. So similar to with the pillar-based approach, I recommend 3 to 6 main steps or phases. But again, you can add more if you need them, but again, just try not to overwhelm or confuse someone. So whichever model you choose, the goal is to provide clarity and structure that guide your clients to the desired outcome in the most efficient way possible. So now I want you to actually choose your coaching model. So you're going to choose either the pillar-based model or the step-by-step process model, and then you're going to choose either the 3 to 5 core pillars or the 3 to 6 key steps that form the fundamental core of your program and offer. So they're going to be the key things that someone actually needs to get in order to get a result. So by now you should have completed step one of your program creation process. So you should have chosen your coaching model and the relevant pillars or steps that form the foundations of your online coaching program. So now we can shift our focus onto step two and create what we call the value stack. So if you've ever created an online coaching program before, after going through step one, you're probably already thinking, that's what I've already done before. Those are the key things I've tried to sell before. And you're right, that's what most people do, but that's also where they stop. So a high ticket online coaching program isn't a matter of just doing what you normally do and increasing the price. It's not just about making a single change, it's about doing a combination of multiple things right. So this covers from your niche and your avatar to the outcome that people want to achieve. It's your marketing, your sales process, right through to what we're doing in this section. So it's about getting the perfect combination of all of this together is what increases the perceived value and allows you to justify that premium price tag. So what we're doing with this step in step two and the value stack is elevating the value of your program that goes above and beyond what's expected. So you're doing things others aren't doing. So this is going to help you to stand out, and it's also going to help you to justify the premium price tag. As I said, what we did in step one is what most people try to do and fail with when going online, because that's all they do in their program. They kind of do step one, and then that's as far as they go. So what we're doing now is showing you how to elevate that above and beyond what is normal. So when it comes to creating your value stack, the best way I've found to do this is to include a number of additional resources that either directly align with a specific pillar or step of your program, or they directly relate to the outcome or dream result that you're helping people achieve. And these additional resources are there to make it feel like achieving the outcome is even more certain than without those resources. So the process is going to be even quicker, easier, more enjoyable, and more efficient because you've added these value stack items. So these resources can come in multiple forms, from PDF downloads to like guides, trackers, and checklists, template scripts, white files. It could be pre-recorded videos or audio lessons and courses. It could be coaching tools and assessment, private coaching communities and support groups. It could be live group video trainings and group coaching calls. And it can even be just additional one-to-one calls and check-ins and support that goes beyond what your standard will be. So you can pretty much include anything that you can think of. But I like to think of it as two main categories. So I categorize the resources in the value stack into either scalable and non-scalable. So scalable resources are, once you've created them, you can distribute them virtually unlimited times to as many people without you physically being there present. However, they typically require you to spend a bit of time and money up front to actually create and source those resources. So that's a scalable resource. So again, once you've created it once, you can distribute it virtually unlimited amounts of times. However, there's normally a bit of a time and money cost up front to actually create and source them. With non-scalable resources, the great thing about these is you can pretty much provide them instantly because they don't require anything else. However, they require you to be present and active. So there's a time investment or time cost to actually deliver that service. So great for those who are getting started and want to start quickly because you can provide these non-scalable resources really quickly. However, as you're looking to grow your business, then again, that's something that might hold you back. So we need to kind of strike the perfect balance. So if we look at the examples, so scalable resources will be like PDFs, so books, guides, trackers, checklists, template scripts, white files, pre-recorded videos, video lessons, video training courses, and coaching tools and assessments that are self-assessed on a self-assessed basis. We've then got the non-scalable resources, which are going to be like your coaching tools or assessments where you have to physically assess those assessments. They're going to be private coaching communities and support groups. So although it's a group environment, you're helping multiple people at once, it still requires your time to actually respond to those people. It's going to be live coaching calls and group trainings. It could be additional one-to-one calls and check-ins beyond what you normally include in your standard program. So all of this matters, as I kind of mentioned already, for a couple of reasons. So if you want at least get your business started quickly, then you can pretty much get started right away with the non-scalable resources. So using like private coaching communities or support groups, doing live group trainings, adding additional one-to-one elements to your program. However, as your business grows, the time and energy you can commit to those non-scalable resources will actually decline with the more clients that you have on board. So then you're going to want to lean more into your scalable resources. So to get started, I typically recommend you have a minimum of 5 additional resources in your value stack, and they can be in any combination which feels right for you. Typically, I would recommend, if you've got access to some or can quickly source some scalable resources or create them yourself, whether that's a PDF download, like a quick checklist, a book, as long as it's valuable, I would recommend aiming for 2 or 3 of those, and then you can add 1 or 2 non-scalable resources. So the next thing we need to make sure of is that these resources don't just feel random. So as mentioned previously, they must give the impression that they're going to help to support your client on their journey and make it feel like it's going to be quicker, easier, more enjoyable for them to get a result. So to do this, we need to make sure they've been designed or feel like they've been designed or created specifically with your dream client in mind. So for example, let's assume your avatar is a busy mum looking to lose weight. So what do you think is going to be more attractive or give the impression it's going to be easier for them to get a result? A generic recipe book or a recipe book that is a 5-minute family-friendly recipe book. So hopefully you can see the 5-minute family-friendly recipe book talks directly to a busy mom who doesn't have loads of time but is looking to lose weight, compared to that generic, just a standard recipe book. So let's take a quick look at some example resource stacks. So again, for this example, let's just assume it's a health and fitness coach. So resource 1 could be a recipe book, again, making it niche specific. Resource 2 could be a sample meal plan. Resource 3 could be a high protein guide. Resource 4 could be a private community coaching group. And then resource 5 could be live group coaching calls. So as you can see there, we've got 3 scalable resources that you can quickly create yourself or quickly source them. And then once you've got them, you can distribute them for actually limited amounts of time. And then we've got 2 non-scalable resources, where it's a private group, coaching community group, and then live group coaching calls. So for those getting started, that's going to be enough for you just to get started to help justify the premium high ticket coaching price tag. But you can also add to this over time. So just because you're starting with those 5, it doesn't mean that that's where you stop. You can actually increase over time, which is also going to enable you to justify price increases the more resources, the more value that you stack into your high ticket online coaching program. So now it's time for you to actually plan and create your value stack. So keep your dream client in mind, keep in mind your pillars and the key steps of your program, the outcomes that you're helping people to achieve, and then write down at least 5 additional resources that you can include in your coaching program. For each of those resources, note whether it's scalable or non-scalable, and then check that each resource directly supports either a specific pillar or step or the overall outcome and is specifically tailored to your avatar's needs and challenges and those kind of things. When it comes to giving your resource an attractive name, this is something that we'll actually look at when it comes to packaging up your program in a moment. So you'll be able to come back to this, but for now, all you need to do is just make a note of what resources you could potentially include in your value stack. So you might already have some that you can include. You might have some that you can quickly go away and source now. So all we want you to do is just write those down so you know what 5 or more starting resources will be included in your value stack item. So that's it for this section, and I will see you in the next one. So by now, you should have completed step 1 of your program creation process. So you should have chosen your core coaching model and the relevant pillars or steps that form the foundation of your online coaching program. You should have then also chosen your value stack items and the resources that are going to be going in that. So now we can shift our focus onto step 3, and this is deciding on your coaching and communication support stack. So this is where we define exactly how you'll deliver your coaching and maintain that communication with your clients. So essentially, it's how you'll be able to show up for them throughout their journey and support them. So this step is crucial because it's often the direct coaching and support that separates a high ticket on a coaching program from lower price alternatives. So your clients are paying a premium price partly because they get access to you and your expertise in a structured and dependable way. But it's also crucial to do this in a way where you're not chained to your phone or laptop 24/7. So when it comes to structuring your coaching and your communication, you need to find the right balance between providing enough support to help clients achieve the transformative results that they want, whilst also creating a sustainable schedule that doesn't lead to you getting burnt out. So we need to make sure that we set clear boundaries to protect your time and energy and those kind of things. So there isn't really a right or wrong with this. It will vary largely between niches, the results that you're helping people to achieve, the price that you're going to charge, how you've actually set up and structured your program with the pillars and the steps and all the items in your value stack, but also how you actually want to run and deliver your program. So do you want to be a coach who's going to be a lot more hands-on, or do you want to be more hands-off? Are you able to use systems and automations to minimize your time? So let's look at a couple of key elements of the coaching and communication support stack. So there are 4 key elements of a coaching and communication support stack. So we've got the one-to-one coaching calls and sessions, we've got the messaging support, we've got check-in and accountability, should also include progress monitoring in that as well. And then we've got a group component again, which is optional. So with the one-to-one coaching call element, these are going to be the one-to-one calls or sessions within your program. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like an actual coaching session where you're there watching someone work out, for example. But it can just be a landmark touch point or a deep dive or a check-in or a catch-up. So it's not just a coaching session. It could just be a catch-up. It could be just a little checkpoint at a certain milestone throughout the journey. So things to consider, the length of the call or the session. So is it going to be a quick 20-minute session? Is it going to be a longer 90-minute intensive kind of training or actual coaching session? How frequently are you going to do these things? So is it going to be weekly, bi-weekly? Are you going to do it monthly? Are you going to do it quarterly? The total number of sessions that you're going to include. So within your program, are you going to have one session per week for a 4-month program? Are you going to have one session per month for a 4-month program? The delivery method. So is it going to be a video call? Is it going to be a phone call? Is it going to be a flexible booking system? So are you going to have a set time each week or month where people can book in? And then the other thing to consider is, do you even want or need them? So in my fitness coaching business, initially I started out, when I first created my program, I gave everyone a one-to-one weekly coaching call. And after a short amount of time, I realized people were actually found having the one-to-one weekly coaching call more inconvenient. So I changed it to a monthly one-to-one coaching call. And then after a while, people didn't even want the one-to-one coaching call on a month-to-month basis, and we just communicated via text, which we'll look at in a second. But so consider whether you actually want or need them. Typically, I'd recommend, especially when you're getting started out and building your confidence and helping to finalize your program and test certain things, I would say definitely include some form of coaching session. But then over time, you can be flexible with your program and maybe reduce the frequency, the time, even down to the point of where you don't need to include it at all. So we've then got messaging support. So this is going to be the ongoing support, which often helps clients navigate obstacles in real time rather than waiting for that check-in call or a weekly check-in for feedback and those kind of things. So with this, we need to kind of decide what platform you're going to use. So are you going to use a platform that has inbuilt chat? Are you going to communicate back and forth with a client via email? Or are you going to do like WhatsApp or Voxer, Slack, Telegram, those kind of things? We also need to make sure we set response times expectations. So are you going to provide daily messaging support with same-day response times? Is it going to be 24-hour response times, 48 hours? And then we also need to make sure we set boundaries. So are you going to only do office hours, or are you only going to work weekdays? Something to consider with this is you're going to become an online coach, so you could have clients globally. So the way I do it is typically I say to people, I always caveat it that it's going to be up to 24 hours, but I always aim to over deliver. So for me, worst case scenario, it's going to be 24 hours, Monday to Friday. People get a guaranteed response. But I always try to over deliver. So typically I structure my day so that at 3 points in the day, I respond to client message. So first thing in the morning as my first task, somewhere around midday, and then sometime around evening time. And that way I find it doesn't matter what time zone someone's in, they always get a really prompt response. And it's also caveated with my 24-hour response time expectation. So I always under promise and over deliver. So then we've got the check-ins and accountability. So this is what's going to hold your clients accountable. So you're able to measure and monitor their progress. You're able to provide feedback, updates, and adjustments as and when needed. So we can add regular touch points at intervals that you feel are most appropriate to support your clients ultimately to get them a result. So is that going to be a weekly check-in? Is it going to be a bi-weekly or a monthly kind of check-in? And all this needs to be essentially is a simple check-in form with feedback. And then you can choose how you want to provide that feedback. So are you going to give them a quick email feedback? Is it going to be text, call? What I do quite a lot of is video screen recording. So once someone's completed a check-in, I'll then review their check-in and provide feedback over a video, which I can send back to them. I can do within a couple of minutes rather than spending ages typing out an email or a text and those kind of things. And it provides loads of value to the client. But ultimately, whatever you feel is most appropriate. Sometimes all you might need is to fire someone back a quick text saying, I got your check-in, great progress, let's carry on doing what you're doing. Other times you might need a more in-depth coaching call with them. So you might actually book that client in for a coaching call. So then we've got the optional group component. So even though it is a primarily one-to-one coaching program, a group element can add huge amounts of value. It can help to improve results and adherence, and it can even help to retain clients longer term due to the motivation and the community that you can build. And people kind of get FOMO, so they don't want to lose out on that community that you've built. So those are the key elements and considerations that we need to think about when it comes to actually coaching and communication. So let's look at some example support stacks that you might want to provide. So we've kind of got 3 different tiers here. So support stack 1 is going to be more intensive. So that's more one-to-one coaching calls, that kind of 30-minute coaching calls on a weekly basis. Messaging support is going to be daily messaging support with 24-hour response times, which you'll do in app or via email or even WhatsApp. Check-in and accountability will be weekly, and then the feedback will be of your choice, determined kind of based on the support needed from the client and the responses from their check-in form. And then again, you can choose whether to do that by email, text, call, or video screen recording. And then the group component, if you choose to add that, could be weekly group calls with Q&A that you provide in the group. Support Stack 2 is going to be like the moderate intensive version. So you'll provide one-to-one coaching calls, more this time 30 minutes, but more on a bi-weekly basis, so every couple of weeks. Messaging support will be weekdays with 40-hour response times. Again, you can email or within your platform or WhatsApp. Check-ins and accountability, again, will be on a weekly basis with personalized feedback. And then you could do more of monthly-based group coaching calls. And then the third support stack, where it's going to be more hands-off, you might do a one-to-one coaching call once per month over video for 60 minutes, email support with 48-hour response times, business days only. Check-ins and accountability you might do bi-weekly kind of reports, and then the group coaching might even be more of a quarterly workshop. So again, you've got huge amounts of flexibility and variability. You can set it up however you like. Those are just some rough examples of, depending on how you want to deliver your coaching program, how you might want to set up the support stack element of your coaching program. So now it's time for you to actually plan and create your support stack. So decide on your one-to-one coaching calls, the messaging support, the check-ins, the accountability, how you're going to provide the feedback, and if you want to include that group coaching element. So that's something for you to do now, is to go away and actually create your support stack, make sure it's going to actually help the client, and it's also that balance of providing enough support, but not too much where it's going to cause you to take up too much of your time. Again, loads of variability and flexibility. You can start, if you're new to this, by providing more support, and over time you can reduce the amount of support and the amount of time that you spend per client. And then once that's done, essentially you've got your coaching model locked in, so your pillars, your steps are all locked in, you understand your process, you'll have your value stack and your resources all locked in, and then finally you'll have your support stack locked in, so you know exactly how you're going to be providing that support to your clients. And that is your high ticket online coaching program all mapped out and ready to go. Okay, so now it's time to package up your online coaching program. So now you've built the foundations of your high ticket online coaching program with your pillars, your steps, the value stack, and the support stack. It's time to package everything together in a complete irresistible offer. So there are three elements to consider when packaging up your program. So we've got the duration. So how long is your program going to be? Is it going to be 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 12 months? We've then got the price of your program, and then we've got the name of your program. So we're going to break it all down and make this really simple step by step now. So the duration and length of your program will depend on a number of different factors. So your advertised need, so how long is it realistically going to take your ideal client to achieve the transformation that you're promising, or to see significant progress towards that? So coming from a health and fitness background, for example, I know that if I had a client who needed to lose 150 pounds of fat, that would be virtually impossible in a 3-month program unless they went under the knife and had an operation and surgery and those kind of things. However, I know that within 3 months, they could see significant progress towards that goal. So we need to consider the starting point, the complexity of the challenge, the outcome that they want to achieve, and what's realistic that they could see within that time frame. We've then got to consider the pricing. So longer programs typically command higher prices. So naturally, because you're working for a longer period of time, the investment and the price is going to be higher. So something to consider is that longer programs, because they are longer, will typically bring in a higher price point. They'll be harder to sell. So that's something to bear in mind if you are new to the high ticket online coaching kind of space. So if you are new, typically I recommend that you start below 6 months for those that are new. And then I guess on the flip side of this, the other thing we need to consider is that if we're only setting shorter programs, then we're going to be trapped in the endless cycle of continuously trying to make sales. But then also the transformation of the result we're able to achieve isn't going to be as great because the program's too short. So it's a balance between the sales cycle and the result. So a 3 to 4 month initial program duration will be suitable for most people, especially those getting started. That will be enough time for most people in most niches to see significant progress towards a goal, whether that's in the health space, the wealth business space, or whether it's like the relationship side of things. Normally you can get someone a result within 3 to 4 months, or you can get them seeing significant progress towards the goal within 3 to 4 months. But that also then helps to balance the sales cycle, so you're not trying to sell lots of 1-month programs on repeat. Equally, you're not getting too many objections because you're trying to sell a program that's beyond 6 months long. So those who are more experienced, or where achieving the goal or seeing a significant progress towards the goal will genuinely take longer than 4 months. So you could then go for the 6 to 12 month kind of programming. the kind of alternative option to that is you could sell a shorter time frame program, say 3 to 4 months, and then sell a lesser outcome or lesser significant result. But typically that's not what people want. So it's better to focus on selling the main outcome in the realistic time frame that someone can achieve it. So in order to decide, ask yourself, so what's the minimum time needed for your avatar to achieve a meaningful, lasting result or see significant progress towards that goal? So I always think it's better to underpromise and overdeliver than the other way around. So have a think about that. Think about what is realistic for someone to achieve or see significant progress. If you're unsure, then a 3 to 4 month program for most people is going to be that sweet spot that kind of balances everything together. So when it comes to pricing, if you're new to online coaching, especially high ticket, and are unsure of where to start, as a rule of thumb, starting a minimum of $1,000 or pounds for a 3 to 4 month program is kind of like the minimum that we want to charge. So we always want to shoot for higher, but if you're just getting started and want to build your confidence and those kind of things, $1,000 or pounds for a 3 to 4 month program is going to be a nice place for you to start. This will still position you as a premium service and attract clients who are serious about investing in their transformation, but it also allows you to build that confidence to test your process. And then what I'd recommend you do is every 3 to 5 sales, you increase your pricing by $250 to $500 or pounds. For a rough kind of guideline of what you could charge, obviously it depends on the niche and the value that you include in your program, but some rough guidelines for a 3 to 4 month program, you could charge anything from $1,200 to about $500 plus $1,000 or pounds. A 6 month program could be anywhere from between about $2,500 a pounds to 10K plus, and then a 12 month program can be anywhere from 5K to 20K plus. When it comes to the pricing structure of the program, the aim is to collect the payment in full and upfront. So this means if the price of your program is $1,200 a pounds, the aim is to collect that payment in full and upfront. So this is the only offer that you actually present to clients when you're making the sale. So at the point of making the sale, that is the only offer that you provide someone. And then you have the flexibility to use weekly or monthly payment plans as a downsell if you need to offer that in order to make the sale. Some other factors that might influence your pricing is your actual personal experience and results. So if you have lots of testimonials, you've got your own personal journey documented, you've got case studies, then that's normally going to enable you to charge higher prices. Your value stack, if you've got more resources in your value stack, typically that's going to enable you to charge higher prices. The more hands-on support that you provide someone, again, that's going to enable you to justify even higher prices. And then the niche that you're in. So typically, if you've got a niche where you are helping someone to make more money, you can normally justify charging higher prices. That doesn't mean that you can't charge as high in the health space or the relationship space, but typically if there is a money outcome, because someone's able to make their money back, and they're not investing in their health or they're not investing in something to help with their relationship, there's a way for them to make their return financially back. You can normally justify higher prices. But also remember that price is a positioning tool. So if we go too low and if we price our programs too low, people will question the quality. If we price the program too high and we haven't included the value that reflects that price, then it's going to be hard for us to get clients. So what you need to do is start where you feel confident. Always err on the side of under promise and over deliver. And then as you gain experience and confidence and you get some feedback, then you can start adjusting your pricing accordingly from there. So when it comes to naming your program, so this is the final step of packaging up your program, a great program name is what's going to make your offer memorable. It's going to communicate the benefit and it's going to position you as the expert. So to help you decide on your program name, if it isn't immediately obvious what you're going to call it, then you can use what I call the rapid naming system. So the rapid naming system formula is something that I came up with, and essentially all you do is you state the niche or the outcome, you add a noun, and that becomes your program name. So the niche or outcome should speak directly to your avatar and the transformation that they want. So the noun will then give it the structure and the authority. So when I say a noun, I mean a word like a system, a framework, a program, a method, a protocol, or a blueprint. So if we look at some examples, again, it's kind of set up so you just fill in the blank. So the first example could be the Bounce Back Better program, which would be great for new mums who want to regain their fitness after having a baby. The 6-figure freedom framework would be great for entrepreneurs who want financial independence. And then the confidence dating blueprint would be great for shy single guys who want to find love. So hopefully you can see how that framework works. So essentially you state the niche that it's for or an outcome that they'll get, and then you add a noun to describe and give it instructional authority. So whether that's a program, a framework, a system, a method, a protocol, or a blueprint. So that's kind of the framework. Some other tips for coming up with great names is to try and keep it under 5 words, make it benefit focused, not feature focused. So talk about the outcome and the result rather than the actual feature, and try to avoid using jargon that your audience or your avatar wouldn't understand. And the great thing about this rapid naming system is you can use that to name your actual high ticket online coaching program, but you can also use that to name the specific pillars within your program, and you can use it to describe the value stack resources within your program. So now it's time to actually decide and confirm the duration of your program, set the price of your program, and then decide on the name of your program and the resources within it. And then once you've done all of that, you'll have a complete program that positions you as a premium coach and clearly communicate the value that you provide. And then that is your high ticket online coaching program mapped out and ready to go. So really excited for you to get this all put together. And that is it for this section. And I will see you in the next one.